everyone, welcome back to your biology class. I hope all of you are doing well. Today we are going to start a new chapter, but before that, let's take a quick review about last videos. So, last time we studied about excretion. Kidney play a very important role in the process of excretion, like it removes a toxic waste product, urea, from the body, and secondly it regulates the water content of the body, which is called osmoregulation. Our kidneys play a very important role in maintaining homeostasis because the kidneys are under control of feedback system, and kidney can save water according to the body's demand. So today we are going to start a chapter, homeostasis. So let's get started. Homeostasis is a Greek word which is divided into two parts. Homeo means same, stasis means condition. So what is the definition of homeostasis? Keeping the constant condition around the body cells is called homeostasis. In other words, the body is maintained as a constant environment. The concentration of substances, the level of fluid, and the temperature are maintained at optimum levels. The optimum conditions include the concentration of glucose, sodium, and other minerals, the level of water, the pH of the fluids, the temperature, the concentration of nutrients, and the concentration of waste materials below a certain level. Students, our body cells working properly only if the conditions are correct. The conditions outside the body, which is also called external environment, are continuously changing. Like for example, temperature on a cool day may vary from 0 degrees centigrade to 20 degrees centigrade. Like 0 degrees centigrade is outdoor temperature and 20 degrees centigrade is indoor temperature. So our body has a mechanism for adjusting condition within the body, also called internal environment, so that the condition around the cells remain constant. Like for example, blood cells lie in the blood plasma and other cells are surrounded by tissue fluid. What is tissue fluid? You remember? We studied before. Yes, tissue fluid is actually a continuous link between our body cells and blood, so that material can exchange easily between blood and body cells. So blood cells lie in the blood plasma and other cells are surrounded by tissue fluid. So conditions in the blood are maintained at an optimum or best values for the cells to function properly. So keeping constant condition in the tissue fluid around the cells is called homeostasis. So students, as I mentioned before, that our cells need a constant environment, and homeostasis play a very important role in this regard, because a slight fall in temperature or change in the concentration of a substance or liquid could prevent an enzyme from working and prevent an important reaction from taking place inside a cell. Students, homeostasis involves several organs, but the basic principle is always the same. So in the next slide, I will show you the organs that contribute to homeostasis. So here is the list of organs that contribute to homeostasis, which are listed below. Number 1, the brain, and the part of the brain is which control or play part in homeostasis is called hypothalamus. Number 2 is skin, the main organ for control of heat exchange or temperature. Number 3, kidney, which perform osmoregulation, like it regulate the level of water and salt and remove urea and waste product. I know you studied it very well in excretion. Number 4, liver, which regulates the level of many solutes in the blood and remove poison. And apart from this, it also regulates blood glucose levels. And last one, lungs, which regulate the exchange of carbon dioxide and oxygen. Let's discuss how homeostasis is brought about. The work of these organs that we studied before must be coordinated to achieve homeostasis. Like information about the condition in the body is continuously fed to the brain from sensory receptors around the body. All homeostatic control mechanisms have at least 3 interdependent components for regulation. Number 1, a receptor, for example, thermoreceptors. What are thermoreceptors? The receptors which detect temperature. Number 2, a control center, brain. Number 3, an effector. So what is the definition of effector? An effector is the target acted on it, or to bring about the change back to the normal state. So students, homeostasis depends on the continual feedback of information. So what is feedback system? Let's discuss. Feedback systems are used to control and regulate processes. They use the consequences of the process, that is, too much or too little produce, to regulate the rate at which the process occurs, to decrease or increase the rate of process. Feedback system is of 2 types, which is called positive feedback system and negative feedback system. So let's discuss one by one each with examples. So let's discuss the first type of feedback system, that is positive feedback. What is positive feedback? It is a cyclic process that can continue to amplify or increase body's response to a stimulus. The best example for this positive feedback is blood clotting. See the diagram on the right. When a blood vessel is damaged, platelets start to cling to the injured site and release chemicals that attract more platelets. The platelets continue to pile up and release chemicals until a clot is formed. So let's discuss the example of positive feedback again, so that you will not forget it. The first step is when there is break or tear in blood vessel wall, so feedback cycle is initiated. In the second step, clotting occurs, and which blood cells are responsible for clotting? Yes, platelets. So platelets adhere to the site and release chemicals, and then release chemicals attract more platelets, and clotting further proceed until the break is sealed by newly formed clot, and here the feedback cycle ends. Now here you can observe that in the second step, when clotting occurs, so platelets reach to the site. So these platelets release chemicals which further amplify the response, so that more platelets continue to pile up there until a clot is formed. The second type of feedback system, which is called negative feedback. Negative feedback occurs to reduce the change or output, or the result of a reaction is reduced to bring the feedback system back to a normal, stable state. So, the example of negative feedback system is blood sugar regulation, insulin, which lowers blood glucose when levels are high. It usually happens after a meal. And glucagon raises blood glucose when levels are low. Later in the chapter, we will discuss the negative feedback system in detail with example of blood sugar regulation and temperature regulation. So now we are going to discuss the example of negative feedback system, that is regulation of blood sugar in detail. So let's get started. So students, the question is how our body balance glucose. The organs which are involved in the balancing of glucose, just see the diagram on the right, the liver and pancreas. The liver and the pancreas regulate the amount of blood glucose level in the blood. Students, remember, in the process of digestion, we studied about that digested food is absorbed into the bloodstream and delivered to the liver. So the normal amount of glucose is delivered into the bloodstream, and the excess glucose after a meal, it's converted into glycogen with the help of insulin, which is released by pancreas. Students, just have a look on this diagram again for regulating glucose. This is pancreas, and the cell which are responsible for release insulin is called beta cells and islets of Langerhans. So after a meal, when blood glucose level raises, so pancreas release insulin into the bloodstream, and insulin bind with the glucose and take them to the liver, where excess glucose is converted into glycogen and is stored. And the rest of the glucose is delivered to the cells, where it is utilized in the process of respiration to release energy. And you know very well that we need energy to perform different biological functions. So students, in the last slide we discussed about when blood glucose level increases, so how our body regulated. So on the other hand, when the glucose in the blood begins to fall, so what will happen? Let's discuss. When the glucose in the blood begins to fall, the liver again converts some of the glycogen back to glucose with the help of glucagon and releases it into the blood to keep the amount of glucose in the blood at the same levels. And this glucose again goes to the cells, where it is utilized in the process of respiration to produce energy, and this energy is utilized to perform different biological processes, like for example muscle contraction, muscle movement, etc. So students, this slide is actually the comparison of the two processes we studied in the last slide. So let's discuss again so that you will not forget it. So see, when high blood sugar is there, and it usually happens after a meal, so it promotes insulin release by pancreas. So when insulin release is stimulate glucose uptake from a blood, okay, and some of the glucose goes to the tissues and cell, where it is utilized in the process of respiration, and the excess glucose stimulates by insulin to make glycogen formation in the liver. On the other hand, when blood sugar is low, so it promotes glucagon release by pancreas. So what happens? It stimulates glycogen breakdown in the liver and results in raises blood sugar level. So students, glucose in the cells actually the main source of energy, and it always be available for the process of respiration. So the body keeps a constant amount of glucose in the blood. This blood glucose level is usually maintained at about 1 milligram of glucose per centimeter cube of blood. But sometimes there is abnormality happen in this process. Some people do not produce enough insulin. So when they eat food, the glucose level in their blood cannot be reduced. This condition is known as diabetes. So what is diabetes? Diabetes is a condition in which the blood glucose concentration is higher than normal because pancreas fails to release enough insulin. So diabetic sometimes have to inject insulin into their blood, and they also have to careful about their diet, because if their diet is consist of too much sugar, so it raises their blood glucose level. So diabetes is of two types, type 1 diabetes and type 2 diabetes. And you remember in chapter pathogen and immunity, we discussed about autoimmune disease, in which we studied about that sometime the body immune cells start attacking on pancreas beta cell. When they attack on beta cell, so that beta cell does not release insulin, and the reason of this, why they do this, is still unknown. As a result of which, there is no or little insulin production in the body, and this type of diabetes is called type 1 diabetes. And this diabetes is usually common in young people or in younger age, because their immune system become hyperactive and start attacking on their own body cell. Instead of recognizing them self, they recognizing them foreign. So students, let's discuss about type 1 diabetes, that what is actually happening inside the body of diabetes type 1 patient. So this, after the digestion is completed, so glucose is extracted from food in the stomach and it releases into the circulation. So pancreas releases insulin in normal case, but in diabetic type 1 patient, the pancreas produces little or no insulin. So it means insulin is not binding with the glucose molecule to send them to the liver if excess is there, or send them to the body cells or muscles, where it is utilizes in the process of respiration and energy is released, and this energy is used to perform movement. So that's why diabetic type 1 patient have to inject pure insulin injection, because in their body no insulin production is happening, because the beta cell which is responsible for making insulin is destroyed by their own immune cells. Discuss the second type of diabetes, which is called type 2 diabetes, and this diabetes is usually happen in older age or after 40. So what is actually happen in this type 2 diabetes? Let's discuss. So see this diagram, that glucose is extracted from food in the stomach after a meal or after the process of digestion and released into the circulation. So pancreas should release insulin. Insulin is producing in their body. In type 2 diabetic patient, insulin is producing, but the problem is that blood sugar level increases due to insulin resistance. It means organs and muscles no longer respond to insulin, and insulin resistant and ingest less glucose. So what actually happen in the diabetic type 2 patient, their body is producing insulin, but their organs and muscles is no longer respond to insulin. So it means insulin is not taking glucose molecule inside the cell, where it is utilized in the process of respiration, where energy is released to perform different metabolic functions. Since body pancreas is failing to secrete enough insulin, so the person is diagnosed with diabetes, and there are some symptoms which contribute when the person having this condition. Number 1, excessive thirst and hunger. Number 2, frequent urination. Number 3, weight loss or gain. Number 4, fatigue. Number 5, glucose in urine. So students, if diabetes is untreated, so it has also long-term effects, and it includes aging, cataract formation, hardening of arteries, and which lead to heart disease. So what is the treatment available for diabetes? The treatment is by a regular injection of pure insulin. This treatment is available for insulin dependent diabetes, or in other words, type 1 diabetes. So at the end of the lecture, you are able to understand what is homeostasis, organs involved in homeostasis, and how homeostasis is brought about, and what are the components involved in the process of homeostasis. We also discussed about feedback system and the type of feedback system, that is positive feedback and negative feedback, along with some examples. So this is all about homeostasis and feedback system. So take care. Bye bye.